I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Pakt Stash Packable Backpack 16 liter, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Like the other bags in their new Packable line, this is made with a recycled nylon material. I'm gonna bring it a little closer to the camera so you can see what it looks like a little bit closer too. It has like a ripstop design on it. It has a PFAS-free DWR coating as well, so water does run off of this. I got caught in a couple rainstorms and it just sort of beaded off, which was nice. Nothing on the inside got wet or anything like that. We also have YKK zippers throughout, and then these little paracord zipper pulls with some like kind of heat shrink plastic on the end, not quite Hypalon, but a very common material that we see on bags like this to just give you a little bit of extra grip. There are a lot of zipper pulls everywhere, like, you know, there's a lot going on in terms of that, but I think overall it has a pretty sleek exterior. There are some attachment loops on the front here where you could add like external accessory straps. There's also a bike light clip down here at the bottom if you wanted to add that. And then with the top carry handle, it's very simple. Up at the top, just like a little kind of nylon feeling material. No extra padding or anything like that. But it does have a very slim profile. We'll look at the harness system and then actually what it looks like on. But I think what this bag does really well is when it's loaded up, it doesn't really look like a packable backpack. Even if I don't have this thing completely full, it wasn't saggy like a lot of packable backpacks can get, or like really lumpy when you have weirdly shaped items in there. You can obviously still see things like my phone in this front pocket, and like it's not obviously like the smoothest thing in the world, but I think that that's what this does really well, is looking like a regular bag without, you know, losing that sort of packability. The material is held up well too. You can see a couple blemishes like down here at the bottom. I'll bring that a little closer. And those are fine. Like they're not anything too crazy. I'm not like worried about the longevity of this. It feels very well made and sturdy. So, you know, over time, I don't think that I'm gonna have any issues with this, but I do like that it doesn't have that traditional packable bag look. The back panel is also really nice on this. So kind of like with the material, not really looking like a packable bag, this back panel makes you feel like you're carrying a regular backpack too. So on here, it's like a little bit of mesh, or not mesh, but a little bit of like foam padding. I would say like maybe a 1/4 inch, if that. This, I have a laptop in here right now, but without the laptop, it definitely has less of like structure to it, obviously. Like my laptop kind of becomes the back panel. I found it comfortable both ways, didn't feel like I was putting too much pressure on my laptop by having it back there or anything, so no concerns there. And then we also have similar padding on the actual straps. Doesn't really look like there's anything there, but this whole strap itself is like that same sort of foamy like cushy padding. We also have loops here where you can, if you use this with a water bladder, you can loop that through there, or you can attach other gear. There's also sternum strap here. It's not on a sliding rail, which is something that I definitely prefer, but this is sort of set it and forget it. You just get it to whatever loop you want it to be at, and then it's good to go. And all of this functioned very normally. You'll see it when I actually put it on. The only thing that's a little bit different here is that this does have a spot to put the waist belt or the hip belt that comes with the larger travel backpack. You could add this here. I didn't find myself needing it. I don't think this bag is big enough to warrant it, but if you were doing something more active like hiking, that would add a little bit of stability, so it's an option if you want to do that. This is the bag when it's actually on my body. So you can see it's hanging a little bit low. I'm 5'6", I have a 16.5 inch torso, but this is where it's most comfortable. It is kind of bumping into me a little bit, but I found that if I put it up a little bit tighter or a little bit higher, it kind of pulled in a little bit and it was less comfortable on my actual shoulders. So giving it a little bit more like of a, not saggy look, but letting it hang down a little bit more definitely added to that comfortability. But with this thing being 16 liters, it's not like when this thing is even like completely full with a ton of heavy gear, it's even that heavy. I packed this thing completely to the brim, and even with all of that, it was still really comfortable to wear. The sternum strap does a decent job at kind of distributing that weight a little bit more. Like I said, I didn't really feel like I needed the hip belt, but it is an option if you want to carry it. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Looking at the external compartments, we've only got 2. So it's the main compartment and then 2 front compartments. Looking at this top one, you can see it has gussets, or like the it's stitched so that it has its own like independent storage. Same with the one down here. But when you open them up, they're not like overly huge pockets. You can see this comes forward a little bit. This material, because it is so lightweight, it is obviously going to be a little bit more floppy, but these gussets on the side here prevent it from fully falling open. So when you open this up, this is where I put like all of my tiny items. Here I have my wallet, and then I have my chapstick here, and then there's a zippered pocket on the inside, which is where they have a key leash, that's where I put my keys. Obviously, it's just a little carabiner clip thing here. It's not like stretchy or anything, but it's a good spot to hold any items more securely, and it kind of keeps them from bumping up against everything else in here. And then I also have my headphones in there. So, I mean, it's, I guess, technically tedious to like unzip this and then unzip another pocket, but because it's so accessible, it didn't really feel like that much work. So even though I had my headphones in there, they were really easy to get to. And then even when I had items in here, I wasn't really concerned about them like falling out or anything like that. So I think that pocket is really effective. It does kind of impact how easy it is to pack the main compartment. So I'm gonna leave my gear in here so we can look at that later. But with this other pocket, the zipper itself is hidden by this little fabric welt here. When you open this up, you can see this little loop and then that little print there. This is actually where you pack the bag into. So once this is all unpacked, I'll show you how you do that. But this one here is honestly the pocket I use the least because I didn't really find it useful for any gear that I access consistently. So with this, I have my phone in there right now, and then I also have like a passport-sized notebook, which I guess, you know, for something like that, it's kind of nice. We usually like to keep those items like a passport more secure, but because this zipper is a little bit more hidden, you know, I wouldn't feel like super uncomfortable putting it in there. This pocket though, like if I put my hand in here, you can see, let me tip it to the side, you can see like that much room is actually available for me to pack out, but the items that are inside of the backpack inside the main compartment are kind of cutting into that space too. So the more you pack in the main compartment, the less space you're gonna have up front here. Less so, I would say, with this top pocket. I noticed it more with the bottom because you usually have more stuff on the bottom of your bag than the top of your bag. But with this pocket here, it wasn't big enough for me to put an extra layer in there. I think if it were winter, I would put like hat and gloves in there. I think that's a good spot for that. But I also find pockets like this that are really flat, kind of hard to get into really quickly just because there's usually a bigger like fabric welt or something covering it. So I think more than anything, honestly, this is me like nitpicking just the fact that this like pocket wasn't as functional for what I would want to use it for. The advantage though is that because it's not its own independent space, it has a little bit of independent space, but because the main compartment cuts into it so much, if I'm not using this, like this is completely empty, the bag doesn't look weird. So I honestly think that gives it like a huge plus because I, for the most part, ignored that this pocket even existed, and I was never like, oh, my bag looks weird. Because sometimes there are bags like that where like if you have one pocket full up top and not in the bottom, like it looks off. So I like the fact that I didn't have to use it if I didn't want to, but between these two pockets, I think it was a really good spot for pretty much all of my smaller gear. And now onto the main compartment. So this one opens, it has a dual zipper closure. I actually zipped in, this happens to me all the time, I always zip in the lower zipper pull. It's a user error thing, but you can put this anywhere along the track because it is a dual zipper. Same with this one on the front here. But with this one, I usually just kept it up top and then I would obviously open it like that. And if I were to pack this bag this way, it's great, right? It has like, you can open it basically, I mean, I would say that's probably more than halfway down. You get a solid, I mean, if I show you on the side there, you know, you can see that. You get a really solid look at everything in here and it's really easy to load. So like I have a toiletry bag and a jacket, etc. So I'm actually gonna zip this up like halfway because this is more so how I actually got to my gear, is I would open it like this and pull things out from the top. Just because if I were to open this zipper all the way down, everything that's in that front top pocket is going to weigh it down and pull it down, which meant that if I was loading this bag just while I had already packed those front pockets, if I wanted to like pull this up, let me see if I can get this to work. If I pull it up halfway and then I open this bag, it kind of works. But then as I start to like load this in, it starts to pull those zippers down and then it's just like a little bit awkward, right? So I found that with this one, it really, anytime I wanted to load this bag, I kind of had to lay it on its back, which To be fair, with a packable backpack isn't really that uncommon just because those materials are designed to be super lightweight. So I'm gonna take this gear out of here so we can just look at it when it's not full in all of its different pockets. Just gonna close that up. And so, you know, looking at this, we've got, like I mentioned, 16 liters of space to work with. I have 2 packing cubes and an extra layer. This extra layer is on the larger side too, so if you have a smaller layer, it might have been fine. And then I have a toiletry bag, kind of weirdly shaped, but it is what it is. With this, I took this on, I think 2 or 3 overnights, and I got in my pajamas, an outfit for the next day, and my toiletries, and then all of my other accessories like my phone, my wallet, keys, whatever, were in this front pocket, and that fit great. So 16 liters, I was able to do that pretty easily. I would say if you were gonna be doing like more than that, 16 liters really isn't gonna be enough, but this is a day pack. This is designed to be a day pack, right? So you would take this on your trip with you, carry it around throughout the day. It's very slim. It could fit multiple people's clothing, the extra layer or something like that, a water bottle, and you can kind of decide how you wanna use it that way. There is a laptop sleeve back here. It has a bit of a false bottom. It's nothing crazy, but it's a little bit there. And then there's also a spot if you wanted to put a hydration pack that fits in here. And then there is a place to feed the tube through and then attach it, the nozzle there, like we previously looked at. So that's a good option. There's also these gear loops here where if you wanted to attach like their pouches, you could do that. I, again, didn't really have that, so I just ignored them. They weren't in the way, so that was really no big deal. The one thing, I kind of brushed on this for a second, but there are no water bottle pockets or anything in here. So that was the one thing where like, maybe it would have been nice to see something mesh on the outside, but I think without having that, it kept this really slim profile. So it's kind of a trade-off. So for me, I just put my water bottle on the actual inside of the bag. When it comes to actually just like stuffing this thing up, you just pack it into this front pocket. So I'll try and do this kind of quickly here. Camera, get it loaded up. Okay, and you can already see that this is a pretty large footprint. Once you get everything in there, it's pretty flat, so that's also nice, but it's definitely not as packable as other packable bags and backpacks we've tried. So with this, I'm just trying to get that all in there. You can see it's kind of this lumpy space. I think they probably could have compressed it a little bit more, but it might have been kind of hard to do. So if you're looking for something that's like a smaller footprint, there are definitely options out there. But I think what this bag does well is that carry comfort. So, and the aesthetics. So you're carrying a packable bag without it looking like a packable bag. So you sacrifice the space, but you get more of a decent look. So there you have it, the Pakt Stash Packable Backpack 16 liter. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.